This week on the Big Ten Pulse, a health scare amongst the coaching ranks, also some scary special teams, plus one of this year's Big Three teams goes down.
All that and more coming up on the Pulse.
Hello and welcome to the Big Ten Pulse presented by Rotel and Velveeta. I'm John Miller. He is LaCharles Bentley. Plenty ahead in the next half hour, but let's jump right into it with our big story.
Conroy, it's a fake. Bates is going to throw. He's got it. Touchdown! Michigan State wins it in overtime. The call of the year.
Well, it was a whirlwind 24 hours for Michigan State head coach Mark D'Antonio. Just hours after that dramatic 34-31 overtime win against Notre Dame, D'Antonio suffered a mild heart attack. He had a stent inserted into a blocked blood vessel and was discharged from the hospital Tuesday. D'Antonio later released this statement: "I haven't established a timeline for my return, but I have the utmost confidence in Coach Don Treadwell and the rest of the staff to carry on with business as usual in my absence. I know that I must gradually work my way back onto the sidelines." So, Charles, looks like we may not see him on the sidelines anytime soon. He's got an experienced assistant coach there to work with and take things over. What do you think a plan can be? Not necessarily a plan, but how do you work back into things over the next coming weeks? Probably won't need him this week.
Right, but look, we have to also look at this situation. They've known each other for years, going back to about 20 years ago. Their days at Youngstown State together under the great Jim Tressel. A good head coach is only going to be as good as the guys around him. And Coach D'Antonio has did a phenomenal job of recruiting. Now we're going to see how good of a job he did in the hiring practices at Michigan State.
Right, this isn't year one of their program. He's been around a couple of years with these guys. There's familiarity there. They have the ball rolling as well there. And I think that it's probably not going to be a big deal. It's not going to be a big deal this week. I mean, you and I might be able to go coach the program this week, but over the next coming weeks, you know, when they get into Big Ten play, I still think they're going to be okay.
If anything that you're going to be concerned about is this: Don Treadwell, offensive coordinator, he's now coming down to the sideline. The spotter is going to the booth. Who is the spotter? Is it some intern? Is it some rookie coach trying to work his way through the ranks? Right. That's what I would be concerned about if Michigan State, if they're going to be concerned about anything at this point. Moving forward, when you get into the bulk of the schedule, the meat of the schedule, I'm not concerned about this guy. Don Treadwell, he's being groomed to become a head coach. And unfortunately, in this circumstance, this is great building for his resume.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. I think it's going to give him an opportunity to show what he's capable of this week, again, not under stressful situations.
Exactly. Well, we got to move on, man. The Spartans will have to refocus as they host Northern Colorado on Saturday. John, are the players going to have to step up and become the leaders of this team right now?
Well, I think a player, and you can certainly speak to this too, but I think in any instance like this, similar in life to what we all go through, you have to step up. There's an emotional buzz, an emotional adrenaline rush you get this week. These guys know the drill. And also, they like to pound it out on the ground, offensively speaking. Nothing's going to change. They have a very solid defense. They've got a great leader and one of the best linebackers in America. So I think this team, they've got a veteran quarterback. They've got a veteran quarterback on defense, if you will. I think they'll be okay.
You just said it. These guys know the drill. We're talking about football players here. How many times have football players seen their comrades go down with injuries? What do? You pick yourself up and you keep moving forward. But one thing that we can't forget about this Michigan State program, these are smart football players, and they understand this. Just because the cat's away, the mice can't play. The eye in the sky is not going to lie. You have to go out there and play good football because of this one simple truth. The coaches are still going to be evaluating the football film. And trust me, the coaches aren't trying to hear the excuse when you go out there and throw 4 interceptions. I was worried about Coach D'Antonio. No. The show must go on.
I think the chip's been on their shoulder this year, and this can help to continue that as they were overlooked this season. The heart attack suffered by D'Antonio has once again ignited the issue of health concerns for coaches, particularly in this era of win now or go home. And despite the hefty paychecks, the day-to-day pressures of the job can take a huge toll.
It's very stressful. You know, it's the hours. It's total life consuming. It's during the season, if it's an 80-hour week, it was a short week, and you usually dip into the 100-hour week. Those aren't, exaggerations. Those are legit.
As tough as I know Mark is, I hope he does what his doctors tell him to do and gets a little rest. You know, it's going to be hard. We're so competitive, but he's such a tough guy, you know, and his team shows that. You know, they play with his passion and his intensity, and you know, so my first thoughts were to him, obviously, and to his health.
Are the demands on these coaches becoming too big? Here's an example. You can watch this at home. The Ron Zook weekly, daily example of his schedule.
Right.
Do you think there's too much demands, too much pressure in this job for these guys?
John, absolutely not. None of the stress level these coaches go through is outside of their pay grade. There are 2 coaches in the Big Ten Conference that aren't making $1 million and up. Look, you talk about perspective. Let's keep this thing in perspective here. Now, there are people out here that are dropping dead left and right. They can't feed their kids, can't pay their mortgage. Those are the people that we should be talking about and concerned about. I'm not concerned about the millionaire coaches out here that are asked to get up at 6:30 in the morning to go coach a football team.
Yeah, I concur with you. And Kirk Ferentz this week, Iowa's head coach, at his weekly press conference, brought up the fact that there are people over in Afghanistan, there are people in Iraq. As you mentioned, there's people, I know a lot of people that are working 2 jobs just to make ends meet in this economy. It's tough. You certainly have sympathy for anybody that has a health concern, but it's not like this is going to fight.
Look, like I said, let's keep this in perspective here. There are people out here that are going through much worse than this. Hey, take care of yourself. Am I supposed to be concerned because you're stressing yourself out because some 16-year-old kid doesn't want to come to your program and play football? No. That's not reality.
That leads us to this week's poll question. Should the NCAA monitor coaches' schedules? A simple yes or no. Log on to big10network.com/thepulse and vote. We'll have the results for you later on in the show.
Well, John, one coach who should probably have his blood pressure checked is Iowa's Kirk Ferentz after his Hawkeyes lost to Arizona this past weekend. You're very familiar with Iowa, the territory, what's going on. How big of a deal is this?
Well, I think it's certainly a big deal for the fans that, thought that this was going to be maybe an undefeated year type season in the beginning of the season. You know, I looked at every game in the schedule and I thought 12-0. This is the first year of my lifetime I could look and basically give them a win, at least on paper, in every game, so I went ahead and did it. That's not going to happen now. And I think that the fans, like players, like it's human nature, you need a week to regroup. You know, it's Thursday, and a lot of Iowa fans are still a little hungover, mentally speaking, from the loss. I'm sure the players are too. That's natural.
And probably physically speaking as well. But you have to look at this, John. If I'm Kirk Ferentz right now, you know what I'm telling my guys? It's time to play spoiler. We're not going to lose to Wisconsin. We're not going to lose to Ohio State because like the kid that you take the candy from.
Right.
And what does the kid do? He cries. You know why he cries? Because if I can't have it, you can't have it. And these kids have to go out there with a chip on their shoulder and show what they're made of as a football team.
Right.
I watched this team against Arizona. They didn't show me much. I'm talking about the true mettle of a football player and a football team. These guys are going to have to step up this week and step up for the rest of the season and play spoiler.
And just remember from a few years ago, you know, some people are saying, are Iowa's BCS hopes done? I don't think so. They can have a successful season. They can still make it to a BCS caliber. But as you mentioned, it has to start this week. And if you listen really closely, you can hear the Big Ten critics in the background right now. And I'm going to ask you this question to that end. Is it something that hurts the Big Ten when one of this year's big three, like Iowa and Wisconsin and Ohio State, has a loss like this against a Pac-10 team?
It hurts the Big Ten Conference because the critics are saying this, here we go, the Big Ten is up to its old tricks again.
Yeah.
But as far as the big three, as far as individual universities, no. Quite frankly, John, I guarantee you one thing. Ohio State, Wisconsin, they're happy that Iowa lost. When you're talking about during the season, during the heat of the battle, it's dog eat dog, baby. We got to get it. Hey,
there's no you and me.
No you and me. There's no brother-in-law going on.
Oh, okay.
The more W's
like
I can get and L's you can get, the better off we're all going to be. We'll sit around and sing Kumbaya during bowl season when it's us versus the world. But right now, no cares.
Yeah, root hog or die in the middle of the season, and I think you're right about that. And I think that, I don't think it was representative of Iowa, but we'll see how Iowa's going to represent the rest of the year. We're just getting warmed up right now. Up next, bad mascots. Can you believe that? Bad special teams and some bad defenses out there. A little who you got, all of that and more when the Big Ten Pulse, presented by Rotel and Velveeta, returns. Stay tuned.
The Big Ten Pulse is presented by Rotel and Velveeta, the ultimate game day snack.
Eisen drops a snap, has it blocked. It was the fullback, Duggan. And it's blocked. Oh, the special teams woes continue for Ohio State. Came out quick, they got the kick. Blocked. First and goal, Arizona.
Arizona State's got a chance to break it all the way.
So do you think special teams has been an issue for the conference this season? Well, that's the perfect segue to this week's Who You Got. That's it's been pretty rough. First topic, bigger concern. Ohio State's special teams or Michigan's defense?
Well, I'm putting on my Big Ten conference hat right now.
Right.
I'm taking my Buckeye hat off
You should.
now, but I'm going with Ohio State special teams
Okay.
because I'm looking at this from a panoramic point of view. I want to see the Big Ten conference win a national championship, and I truly believe that Ohio State gives us that best opportunity. Their special teams right now are god-awful, and I'm tired of seeing it. The last 3 weeks, these guys have given up big play after big play. It's time to get it corrected.
Well, that's the anomaly of the Jim Tressel era. Normally, they're really buttoned down tight on that, which is why I'm going to go with the Michigan defense. They gave up 217 yards rushing to Massachusetts, an FCS team. UMass, you run all over Michigan. Over 430 yards of total offense, 26 first downs. Michigan's defense is, there is not one defensive statistic for them that looks good at all, and this is the third year in a row. I don't care how great that offense is, defense has to get buttoned up. But you know what? That's our opinion. Let's see what the Big Ten Nation had to say right now with results. They agree with me, smart people out across the Big Ten country. 92-8. Oh, I think it's just more confidence that Ohio State will get it done.
Yeah, you know what? All the Buckeye fans, they just didn't want to vote this week.
It took a week off.
Iowa's Jewel Hampton and Wisconsin's Chris Borland were both lost for the season this past week. John, which loss is going to play a bigger role in the team's success over the next couple of weeks?
In the early history of this show, that's the best question and one of the toughest to answer because of what those two players mean for their teams. Borland over on Wisconsin's defense, that was an issue this season, was their defense coming into it. How could they slow down opponents because this offense we thought was going to be high-flying and balanced, which hasn't been. I think that's an incredible loss. I'm going to give that a slight edge over Jewel Hampton only because I was leading rusher from last year and Adam Robinson is available, so I'll go with Borland.
Okay, I give you that. But as a former offensive lineman, I love my running backs, and I hate to see guys get hurt back-to-back years like this. So first of all, my heart goes out to the kid, especially having gone through my own history of injuries and whatnot. I know what he's going through. But Adam Robinson, he's going to have to step up. I'm so tired of this new age football where you need 2, 3, 4 running backs. No, you don't. Go back to the old days.
Wait, they used to do that back then.
One ball, one guy, let's go. They used to do that back in the day, a long time ago. But right now, it's all about we need 4 to 5 good guys. I don't want to hear about it, but who cares what we think? What does the Big Ten Nation say? Well, Jewel Hampton, this week, I'm the guru, I'm the expert. You lose this time.
Well, this segment.
Segment.
You got that one right. You got that one. All right, so what a better way to finish right now than with the talk of a couple of mascots beating the crap out of each other. All right. In light of Brutus versus Rufus smackdown last week at the Horseshoe, which Big Ten mascot would you not want to meet in a dark alley?
Now, I'm going to put my Buckeye hat back on right now. Brutus, I'm ashamed of right now. You can't get beat up in your own house, man, in front of 105,000 people. You let this guy, and the crazy part about it, John, this kid did not go to school at OU. His main objective was to get back to the Horseshoe just to assault Brutus, and Brutus let it happen. I'm going with Rufus. I don't want to meet Rufus. I don't want to meet Rufus in a dark alley. I don't want to meet Rufus in a bar. I like this kid's personality, though. He set a goal, and he achieved it.
Drive and determination. We like that. Exactly. You know, I was thinking about Boiler Pete. He carries around a sledgehammer. Whack-a-mole may as well have been created back in the 60s and 70s when Purdue was beating up, Minnesota. But then I started thinking, Sparty, he's got a sword, and he's got armor, and he's named after the Spartans. And I've seen the movie 300. I don't want any part of Sparty.
But the name is Sparty. Shouldn't it just be Spartan? Spartan?
Spartacus, something.
But
something better than Sparty.
Sounds real cartoonish to me.
It does.
That's just my opinion.
Let's see what the Big Ten fans have to say. Herky the Hawk.
Oh, Lord.
A cartoon character.
These are all your people, the Hawkeyes.
I don't know.
These are all your people voting?
I have no. This is not stuff that's contrived.
We have to talk
This is
to
the Big
Josh.
Ten Nation.
We have to talk to the producer. I believe these votes are padded. You stuffed the voting box.
I don't think there's anything going on there. Hawkeye fans just know how to use computers. Belbeaters. Still to come, while Shoelace gets all the pub, why Michael Shaw may be the key to the Wolverines' success this season, and what do the Chicago Bears and USC Trojans have in common? You want to crown them, and we'll explain all that when the Big Ten Pulse presented by Rotel and Belbeater returns.
We love emails. Time now to hear what's on your mind as we take the pulse of the Big Ten Nation. Our first email is from Lions Roar 77 in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. Will we see more non-conference weekends like the upcoming slate of games in the Big Ten's future?
Well, you're going to see some of them, especially if they go to 9 games. And you have Penn State and Temple renewing their contract, I believe, out to 2016. And if they go to 9, that makes a lot of sense. But also, in this day and age, and the way the BCS is set up, in my opinion, you are penalized. Iowa goes out to Arizona. They play a 9:30 Central Time kickoff game. To what end do they play that game? I think it's a bad idea.
John, you're absolutely right. You have no choice but to pad your schedule with cupcakes. And this is not a slight to smaller schools, but the reality is this. Most of the big universities, there's just no chance these smaller schools are going to be able to compete. But everybody wins. Hey, the smaller schools get a paycheck. The big schools get practice. So what fans should do, you should see this as the NFL preseason. Same thing. You got your 4 games in the preseason. You get to go out there, get the reps, feel good about yourself. But the only time fans worry, only times they worry is when your team sucks in the preseason, and the only time you should worry in college football is when your team loses to James Madison.
That is a big reason to worry. I'll grant you that. This next email comes from Sammy G. in Cedarburg, Wisconsin, whose contribution was needed the most this past weekend, Michigan's Michael Shaw or Purdue's Cortez Smith?
Purdue's Cortez Smith, by far. Danny Hope right now, he is struggling, but he's doing a phenomenal job of keeping these guys into it. They're a living, walking, breathing mass unit right now. This man has offensive linemen playing DB playing offensive line. These guys are all over the place. They needed this young man to step up. He stepped up big. 2 touchdowns, over 100 yards receiving. They needed that.
I won't argue with that and agree, but no one's expecting Purdue to compete for a bowl game, and there's been a lot of hype and attention on Michigan thus far this season. I think Shaw's contribution was huge. No coincidence. Denard Robinson, 17 carries, 104 yards this game. Shaw, 12 carries, 126. I think he had a 50-yarder. He had a 34-yard touchdown in this game. Somebody was going to have to emerge. Now, I'm not saying it's over, because that was, again, UMass, Massachusetts. They needed somebody else to step up because Denard Robinson can't carry the mail all year.
You got to keep giving Denny Hope his props. He deserves it. Right now, this team is struggling. You lose your star running back earlier in the year. You lose your star wide receiver early in the year.
Right.
Then your starting QB goes out this past week. Hey, this man is doing some wonderful things out there in Purdue. This is going to be funny. When asked about the Gophers' loss to USC last weekend, Minnesota head coach Tim Brewster had this to say during his weekly press conference.
I kind of feel and empathize a little bit with Dennis Green, when he's meeting with the press after they played, the Arizona Cardinals played Chicago, and what did Dennis say? He said, we let them off the hook. We let them off the hook, and they are who we thought they were. And that's kind of how I feel about the SC game.
Well, that prompted this email from Golden Boy 11 in Maple Grove, Minnesota. Is Tim Brewster sending the right message to his team? John, I'm trying not to burst out laughing right here, but go ahead and take this thing away.
All right, I think that if you would have beaten South Dakota.
South Dakota?
South Dakota.
Not North Dakota?
Any Dakota.
Okay, gotcha.
Doesn't matter, Dakota, whomever. If you would have beaten whomever from Dakota, it would have carried a lot more weight and then been somewhat funny and not almost more funny at yourself. But they lost to South Dakota. They lost to USC. Sure, there were plays that they left on the table to be had, but you just lost to South Dakota. And now this week's a must-win against NIU, and it's no guarantee. I don't know that you say that now.
It's like this, like a boxer. The week before, you get knocked out by your sparring partner, and then you want to come back the next week, and you put put up a nice fight
Right.
against the heavyweight champ, and then you get knocked out still, but say, hey, well, maybe I should still deserve the belt. No, you don't.
Right.
You can't get knocked out by your sparring partner the week before, then come back and try to do your best Dennis Green impersonation. Doesn't work.
Can't go to the moral victory card after losing to South Dakota. Up next, 10 years to the day we reflect on the miraculous story of Penn State's Adam Taliaferro. The Big Ten Pulse, presented by Rotel and Velveeta, rolls on right after this.
The Big Ten Pulse is presented by Rotel and Velveeta, the ultimate game day snack.
Quick reminder, the Big Ten Network will carry multiple football games this Saturday. Get ahead of the game and find out the right channel number in your area and your cable or satellite provider. Get a customized list of channel assignments by entering your zip code at bigtennetwork.com/gamefinder.
Earlier in the show, we asked you, yes or no, should the NCAA monitor coaches' schedules? And you overwhelmingly responded, no, 74%.
because it's the right call.
That's the pulse of America. This is working class people we're talking about. Time now for our parting shots in the segment we call the 11th hour. John,
Thank
take it
you,
away.
LaCharles. The Illinois freshman quarterback Nathan Shieldhouse is already a high-flying act just 3 games into his career. Not because he's mastered the Illini offense just yet, but for his on-field leaps. It's tough to find fault in someone for being aggressive, but the Illini signal caller has to use better judgment because of what he means to this team and head coach Ron Zook. Anytime you start a freshman quarterback, you take a chance. Zook took that chance on Shieldhouse, and you can see the dividends already. He's rushed for more than 200 yards as he develops as a passer. But it's a long season, and he needs to reach the finish line this year in one piece. He needs to keep his feet on the ground and live to fight another down.
Absolutely right, John. It's safe to say that life isn't always perfect. Sometimes good things happen to bad people, and bad things happen to good people. It just so happens that today marks the 10th anniversary of the tragic play in which Penn State cornerback Adam Taliaferro suffered a severe spinal cord injury. This is significant to me because I just so happened to be on the field during that fateful play and remember thinking to myself, that's not fair. An 18-year-old kid once faced the possibility of never walking again. But as life would have it, Adam Taliaferro not only walks, but he just recently graduated from law school. Life isn't always perfect, but it's perfectly worth living.
Those are the good stories to see because you take things for granted. And in a sport like football, it can be gone in a snap.
Man, you're talking to me. Trust me, I know how it goes.
I am talking to you. I didn't play at that level, but it can go quick.
Right.
That's all the time that we have for today. You can check out your games again, bigtennetwork.com/gamefinder. Email us at bigtennetwork.com/thepulse. For LaCharles Bentley, I'm John Miller. See you again next week on the Big Ten Pulse.